On this week's episode is some pain in the future for PlayStation 5 owners. Why 2021 could be Marvel's biggest gamble yet. Biggest gamble yet. And are you ready to get into some Dungeons and Dragons? Dragons. All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great programs. And we've had a big couple of weeks, and we cannot thank you enough for listening to all of our great shows, including all the NBA draft coverage, including our upcoming NBA 2020 mock draft with not one, not two, not three, but four great draft experts. That's coming up on the Lakers Fast Break and also later on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel. I've also have an NFL 2020 draft preview there on draft preview on the Inside Sports Fantasy Football channel. And we have a lot of great things going on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel. Check out our back episodes of PCC Multiverse, Lakers Fast Break. There's been so much going on the past couple of weeks, and there's been so many people listening. We cannot truly thank you enough for doing so. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. He's our elf warrior for Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to check out you got to check out what he's doing today at popculturecosmos.com. Also as well, his great show Topicocalypse, and of course his book, which you can get on Amazon and also Barnes & Noble today. You can get it sent to you if you go online for it. And that is Congratulations, You Suck. Or hey, it's even for the Kindle and Nook too at a very cheap price. It is my friend. It is my friend. It is Josh Peterson. What's up, man? Elf Warrior.
Oh, just getting my bow and arrow out, bleaching my hair blonde, doing flips off horses and things. Just doing elf stuff.
What is your dexterity? Or what is your constitution?
I've been putting more points into accuracy these days. So health and accuracy are really important to me. So is stealth. So dexterity and constitution and health. Those are kind of my neglected stats these days.
Well, fair enough, because we are going to be talking some Dungeons and Dragons, because Curtis Watkins is going to be talking to not only myself, but Octavio Gomez from Go Brothers Gaming. He's going to talk to us about getting into, in the case of Octavio Gomez for the first time, and myself after many, many years of getting back into Dungeons and Dragons. He's going to help ease that transition for us. He's going to give us some advice on what to look for, where to go. And anybody out there who's thinking about it, now that there's some extra time in your hands, about getting back into the world of Dungeons and Dragons, he's going to explain why you should, why now is a great time, and also as well where you can go, where are the places you can go to get some help into getting into the world of Dungeons and Dragons. But also as well, we have Brad Campbell from the Watchers Movie Reviews podcast that's available now everywhere you get your podcasts. He stopped by to talk some movies, and in fact, not only the movies that he's excited for that's been delayed, but yet he's very excited for coming up down the road. We're also going to talk a little bit more about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where these movies are lining up: Black Widow, The Eternals, Shang-Chi, Doctor Strange 2, but also a little bit on the fact that 2021 is going to be the biggest gamble yet for Marvel. So we'll touch more on that later in the program as well. Plus, Josh and I are going to be talking about on the back end of the show about a Hunger Games prequel, and if we're excited for it, and also the Final Fantasy VII remake that he's been going through, he's going to share his thoughts on that as well. But first, my friend, I want to ask you this real quick. When it comes to video games, a lot of people are playing video games right now because they're stuck at home, stay-at-home orders, things of that nature. They're playing a lot more video games, and in a time where there's a lot of bad things going on and we're hearing nothing but bad news left and right, Is this outlet of video games come at something that we can go ahead and explore a lot more these days?
You know, it's crazy to me that all the people who would like say, "Oh, you need to go get a job," or "video games are for kids," they're sitting there playing video games now, and it's thanks to games like Animal Crossing, where you can just kind of sit down, play casually, no stress involved. You can go fishing, you can build things. Like people like that kind of game, so it's kind of showing what the market is for certain demographics of people. And it's also cool, you know, you look at things like Final Fantasy 7. You can't find that game anywhere right now. Square cannot ship them out fast enough. You go to any store and it's sold out everywhere. So there is like the people who, even if you're someone who has not played games in a long time, right now you are playing games. You can't help it. And even like Nintendo Switches, right? You can't find them anywhere. Nintendo even has like the demand for them is so high, and Nintendo has shut down their factories right now because of the whole COVID-19 thing. So they're not producing any more units. So people are, are literally like waiting outside stores to buy video games. It's crazy. We haven't seen things like this in a very long time because people can't buy things online anymore. So they're lining up outside of stores to get games and consoles and everything. It's nuts.
And just to add on to that, GameStop, which you and I both have criticized in recent months for the way they've handled this situation and also the way they've handled their employees, they are opening back up in certain areas. So you do want to go ahead and check your listings if you have a GameStop around you, that it is opening back up sometime in the near future for limited sales, drop-offs, pickups, things of that nature. They are in some form of fashion opening up for business at some locations. So do you want to check out for that? Because they are trying to meet the demand out there for video games. I know Walmart, Target, and several other brick or mortar retailers that have been open because they've been deemed essential. They have been reporting higher than average video game sales over the course from year to year, even week to week, even month to month, because there's such a pent-up demand for video games at this point in time.
Yeah, and I'm starting to rethink the whole thing where people have been telling GameStop that games aren't an essential business. It seems like right now, like this is what's keeping people clinging to their sanity. I was looking back in Huntington Beach, people are protesting having to stay indoors, yet a lot of people in California that I know are sitting there playing games. That's how they're passing the time. That's how they're keeping their sanity while they're locked up in their houses. And I'm looking at this. I'm starting to rethink GameStop's stance on being an essential business. I think that gaming is, while it's not essential to survival, it is like this is what people want. Like it has created a market for games that was not there before.
And it does look like that, at least for the short term, video games are getting a boost. Now, in the long term, it might be a problem because as our society tries to go back and have some semblance of normalcy, there's still going to be a lot of people out of work, still a lot of people that are going to be short on income later in the holidays. And wouldn't you know, during the holiday season, as of now, still expected to come out is the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. And the reason why I'm mentioning the PlayStation 5 in particular is that there are recent reports that Sony themselves are saying that they are going to have a limited supply of PlayStation 5s available over the course of the first 6 months to possibly even up to the first year that the unit is out and about into the wild out there. And there could be only a limited number, maybe say 4, even 5 million. And that to me is a very undersized, demand, supply that could meet the demand, even at the high price point, which is rumored to be as high as 550, could be as low as 450, but still, even if that's the case, the price structure and the availability to me is a miss on both parts. I will ask it, and I will just go ahead and tie it up in a question like this. Is it a mistake for PlayStation to come out with a PlayStation 5 at this time? Wouldn't it be better if they held off for maybe a year until holiday 2021?
Well, that's an interesting question because they have not been very forward with their marketing. They have not really been marketing. And, in addition to them saying, hey, we're going to put out a limited number of consoles, they're also saying that this might not even be like the full specs of the PlayStation. We might respec it after all the parts become readily available again. So between, getting a lesser console and then having such a limited run, if they're going to come out the doors swinging at $600, that kind of I mean, it doesn't give me a lot of faith in the product itself. They're going to be charging a lot of money for a product that might not even be that good, might not be something produced to the best of their ability. And that's what concerns me. That's what makes me not want to buy a PlayStation. I do really want to buy an Xbox, and they've come out saying, they're fully backing their product as of right now. We haven't heard anything about, part shortages or anything like that. But yeah, it's just like hearing these different things coming from Sony. It is concerning, especially if you're going, not a lot of people have the money to spend on consoles, and they probably won't come the release of the consoles during the holiday season. So if you're going to be dropping that money, it's going to be, you want something of quality. You don't want something that's going to be like, oh hey, 6 months from now there's a pro version coming out, or there's a king or queen version, whatever PlayStation's calling their stuff these days. That is concerning to me.
Well, I think it's going to be a problem that PlayStation has to address. If you're not going to be able to go ahead and meet demand, even at a higher price point, and I know it's kind of like a double standard. I'm saying, well, not only is it going to be shorter product, but it's going to be a higher price. The PlayStation fans will want to go ahead and buy a PlayStation no matter what the cost. And they'll go ahead, if they have any extra money, they'll go ahead and spend it on the PlayStation 5, but they won't be able to get it. But to the general consumer out there buying it this holiday season, they may stray away from it because of limited funds and the higher price point of the PlayStation 5. That could also leave an opening for the Xbox Series X to say, hey, you know what? We've got a more powerful console, and we could go ahead, and if they go and undercut the PlayStation 5 with the price point, that could be a double-edged sword right there that really sticks it in the side of PlayStation for at least the first year or so.
Yeah, I mean that's a very good point, and with like the limited numbers, and like it's sad to me that PlayStation has such a big fan base that people will go out and spend that money on day one, and I don't think that I feel like it's kind of a disservice to fans, what I mean, I agree with what you're saying. It would be better for them almost to just wait, and have their own console release date, because usually these consoles come out within a week of each other, if not on the same day, just because they're competing so hard. So I feel like it would be better to wait until you have a great product, something you're proud of, something you don't have to look at and say, hey, 3 months from now, we're going to release a pro version just because we couldn't get all the parts we needed. Like, I feel like they're doing their fans a disservice by not putting out a quality product at launch and limiting the number of consoles available, because I guarantee you that stores are going to be hiking the prices on those.
There'll be a lot of issues when both of those consoles come out, both the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. But PlayStation, at this point in time, Sony is already setting the system up for failure. And whatever things that they did right on the PlayStation 4, they're not doing right so far when it comes to the PlayStation 5. And that I have great concerns with, as someone who is both the PlayStation and an Xbox fan. Not as diehard as Xbox as you, my friend, because you lean towards one way, and you and I both know people here in Las Vegas that lean towards the other. But it is something that, if it's a good system, people want to get a hold of it. But if they can't afford it or they can't find it, it's going to work both ways against Sony.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. It's they have to have some kind of marketing strategy out there, and they're also like, I don't know, with something this big and something this expensive, if they will be able to retain the love of fans should they fail them on launch.
What are your thoughts out there on what's going on with the PlayStation and also video games as a whole? Are you Have you returned to the world of video games, because of the situation that's gone on, or are you playing more now than ever? We want to hear your thoughts. And also on Sony's PlayStation 5, are you concerned about it being too expensive or it being unavailable within the first 6 months of launch? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, coming up next, we've got Brad Campbell from Watchers Movie Reviews. He's going to stop by and talk about some of the movies that he's excited for that have been delayed, but also an extensive conversation on the Marvel Cinematic Universe and where it's going from here. That's coming up right after the break. And after that, we're going to be talking some Dungeons & Dragons with Curtis Watkins and Octavio Gomez as well. This is the PCC Multiverse. And coming up next, it is Curtis Watkins and Octavio Gomez. Curtis is stopping by to talk to us about Dungeons & Dragons, and is it the right time to get into it for fans out there that are looking to get into it for the first time or coming back to it from a long time ago? That's coming up right after the break. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back to close out the show. This is the PCC Multiverse. Want to thank Octavio Gomez from Go Brothers Gaming, Curtis Watkins, and Brad Campbell from Watchers Movie Reviews. Cannot thank all three individuals enough for being a part of today's program. Be sure, if you really like what the stuff we do, please, if you can, give us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Share, subscribe, subscribe to our show. We've got over 2,000 subscribers almost on our Podbean channel alone. So we've got almost 2,000 Podbean subscribers. So we truly appreciate anything you do for us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos and all of our other great shows. And again, if you get a chance, Topicocalypse or also Josh's book, Congratulations, You Suck, get that today at Barnes & Noble and Amazon. But before we head on out, my friend, I want to go ahead and ask you real quick, speaking of books, like your fine book, Congratulations, You Suck, you will see that online right now at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. But one of the other book series you might see is The Hunger Games. And The Hunger Games, I believe by Sony, I think if I'm not mistaken, they have announced that they are going back into the world.
Lionsgate.
Lionsgate. And they have announced that they're going back into the world of the Hunger Games. And surprise, 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 it made a ton of money before with the previous movies. So where can you go from here since it already has concluded? You go back in time with the Hunger Games prequel. Is this a good move for Lionsgate? And also, is this something that a lot of fans like you or me would return to into the world of the Hunger Games?
So The Hunger Games is something I never got on board for until it came out, until like the second or third movie came out on, to stream on demand or Vudu or wherever I watched it. But, from what I understand, like the people I've talked to, they really enjoy the book. Suzanne Collins, really talented author, but The Hunger Games was just one of those things, when someone tells you to watch something over and over again, you're like, oh, fine, I'll get to it eventually. That was how I felt with Hunger Games. But after watching it, like they're really good movies. They're really well put together. They're faithful adaptations, and I did really enjoy them. Would I go back and watch a prequel? I've kind of talked to you before about my thoughts on prequels, right? Like I don't like going backwards with stories. Star Wars was kind of the exception for me because I was a kid. I had never had that Star Wars experience like my parents had had. But I don't like to move backwards with stories, unless it serves a purpose and it's tying into something that's coming out ahead. Not ahead, but like, after the main series, I can't go back. Like, I don't like to go back. So would I go back to watch a prequel? I don't know. It would really have to have something that would pull me in as somebody who's not like a super fan of the series. I mean, how do you feel about it though? Like, are your daughters into Hunger Games? Like, is this something that you have enjoyed with them or something you just enjoyed by yourself? What are your thoughts on it?
I have watched it mainly with my wife because my wife is a huge fan of the series. and she's just starting to get my daughters into it. My daughters have watched a couple of the movies, and they're actually going to read the books very soon because we have them here at the house. And as somebody who, as somebody who appreciates the series of Hunger Games, I guess I wouldn't mind going back in, but I certainly hope Jennifer Lawrence will be a part of it. But again, if it's a prequel, I'm assuming it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think it would happen first. She's kind of moved beyond that franchise, though. She's doing more indie flicks, more things with big, high profile directors. I don't see like Hunger Games put her, helped her get on the map more, but I don't see her going back to something like that. So I don't know what it would be about unless it's about like the original war between the people of Pan Am, the rebellion, or whatever it was. But I don't see Jennifer Lawrence returning to something like.
Well, there's no realistic way you could actually blend her in there because of where she was at the beginning of the Hunger Games series. So I guess they're going to have to create another character that from the Hunger Games universe that will go ahead and lead this adventure. If it works well, if it works out well, we could see maybe another trilogy of films like we did with the Hobbit series from the Lord of the Rings, and famous prequels of that nature that we've seen already with Star Wars and whatnot. So I guess I'm going to give it a shot because I enjoyed the Hunger Games. It's not my favorite film franchise, not by a long shot, but it's something that, for the most part, I enjoyed. I didn't think any of the movies really outright were lame. I thought, for the most part, most of the films were pretty good. It's just that they really never, like yourself, captured me in a way that some other film franchises really have.
Yeah, so I mean, it'll be interesting to see where it goes, what they do with it. I don't know. I haven't really explored the lore enough to really be a know-it-all on the events that happened before the Hunger Games, but I'm sure there's an audience out there for it. I know they had talked about, much like Twilight, doing another Hunger Games, like from the perspective of somebody else in the series. So I don't know if they're gearing up for a big marketing campaign. I know there's also rumors, if you remember, Lionsgate had said we're going to reboot the Hunger Games. That was like a year after the first one ended. So I don't know what's going on. I hope maybe there's bigger plans in motion than you and I realize, but yeah, it's just at this point in time, it's not something I'm really excited to watch. Though I'm sure there are people who would be excited to watch it because it is still one of the top selling young adult.
You know what that sound is right there? That's the sound of wringing out every single drop of cash they can from the Hunger Games franchise. What are your thoughts out there on the Hunger Games going back in time for a prequel or possibly even more than one movie in the Hunger Games series? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, it's been a great episode, but before we head on out, I know, Josh, you wanted to go ahead and relate your experiences on something that I've been wanting to talk about and wanting to hear about, and that is the remake for one of the greatest games in recorded history for the video game industry, and that is Final Fantasy VII. And that's not just me saying it because I'm a big fan or anything like that. It's because I have an ultimate amount of respect for it because I've heard so much praise over the years for this game. So now that you've actually delved into the world or the remade world of Final Fantasy VII, once again, what's it like for you the second time around?
So this was a game that I've been really excited about for a long time, but I have just gotten to sit down and play it this week, and I'll be honest, like it's fantastic. It's everything. It took everything I loved about Final Fantasy 15, like the battle system, the updated graphics, and just like the being able to have different characters do different things, having your summons fight alongside you. They took all that stuff and they made it so much better. They made it something that like I would have never even envisioned this being a thing, back when I played the original. As far as changes go, they have made they have taken small story beats and expanded them to like 2 or 3 hour ordeals. So like the this first section, I'm only on chapter 5, but so far I've only played through the slums in Midgar, and that was someplace you probably in the original game only spent 2 or 3 hours in, and they've made it almost an entire game. So they've done a great job with that. They've done a great job creating meaningful side quests and developing relationships with characters that weren't there before. Like in the original game, Biggs and Wedge and Barrett, like they were comedic characters, right? They were characters who you couldn't really take very seriously. But in this game, you feel for them. There is a dynamic there that makes you actually care about these characters and what happens to them. Even the same thing with like Jesse. There's a relationship between Jesse and Cloud that gets developed. Same thing with Cloud and Tifa. You get to kind of see what happened in Cloud's past, how him and Tifa became so close. And you get to kind of elaborate more on Aerith. They do a good job at exploring those memories between, with Cloud and what happened to him and how he used to look up to Sephiroth, and how he's really in the game he was haunted by Sephiroth, but in this game they really show like how potent that that fear and that hatred and loathing of Sephiroth is. And this is kind of taking parts from the end of Crisis Core. I don't know if a lot of people played that one, but it shows how what happened to Zack and what happened in Genesis and Sephiroth and all that. So we haven't actually I haven't gotten any parts where you actually interact with Sephiroth. There's just except through memories. But I'm really, really digging this, and it's cool because they have done a great job of letting you upgrade your weapons in this one. So you couldn't do that in the other one. You could just equip materia to your armor and your weapons. But in this one, you can do that, but you also get to upgrade your weapons. So if you don't like the look and style of a certain weapon, there's a whole like skill tree for it. So how in like Final Fantasy X they had the sphere grid, Final Fantasy 15 they have your SP grid. So you earn SP and you can actually upgrade your weapons. Like there's no you can upgrade how much damage your weapon does, how much health your character gets. Like it's a simple not battle system, but it's a simple upgrade system, but it works. Like it all flows so well. And in this game, it's like a very advanced anime. It's something you can take seriously. It's something that like it has its tropes, but it's still fun. It's a beautiful world, and like I'm really excited to keep playing this game. And what concerns me is I've been reading a lot of news articles about how COVID has been affecting Square, and they don't know like what the future of this game looks like. When are we going to get the other 3 volumes of this, or 2 volumes, however many they're going to make? When are we going to see that? And it worries me because this is such a fantastic game, and like this is another game like you go to stores, you can't find it anywhere. I've been to several Walmarts, and every time I'm in there, I look for a copy of this game because I want a physical copy. I have a digital copy, and you just can't find it anywhere. So it's a beautiful game. If you're on the fence about it, I definitely recommend playing it. It's not like you don't have a lot of time right now. Get into it. It's a beautiful world. It's fully enveloping, and it's a welcome walk down memory lane.
It apparently is, because a lot of people are showering the remake, I should say, with glowing reviews. It's been touched up very nicely, a lot of added content to it. It's been something that I think a lot of people have been waiting for, and it has been in development hell for, it's been in development limbo for quite some time. And now that it's out, a lot of people are enjoying it. And finally, at the tail end of this generation, of this console generation, they get the version of Final Fantasy VII that they've always wanted. What are your thoughts out there on the Final Fantasy VII remake? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com, or also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. Cannot thank you enough for being a part of it. Looking forward to the show on Monday. And again, if you get a chance, listen to all of our other great shows. A lot of stuff going on the Inside Sports Fantasy Football and Lakers Fast Break programs. Any last thoughts on the way out?
No, I mean, I think we covered everything. You guys, if you're one of the people who have downloaded one of our latest episodes, and you're giving us this big spike in listeners, we really appreciate it. We've been doing this for a long time, so it's nice to see a lot of people are listening in. If you have any questions for us, send us an email at popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. We'd be more than happy to answer your questions on air. If you have any topic ideas for us, we'd love to throw some ideas around. Just send us an email, communicate with us. We are grateful for the listening.
And we're also grateful for we're also grateful for the great response in regards to Dungeons and Dragons. Looking forward to stepping into that world once again. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great